One of the things that I like to do with my turkey is make turkey broth. So at this point, I've removed all of the meat and I need to add 2 gallons of water until it's covered by about 2 to 3 inches. So then I just pour in my water, and you really want it to be more than you think that you're going to need because of the fact that so much of it will evaporate off. In fact, I might do another half gallon. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do another gallon. So I'll do 3 gallons over the top of this just because I don't want any section poking out. It is floating a little bit, but it will evaporate so much. This was a big 22-pound turkey, and so that can make a difference how much water that you need to cover it. This is just a really basic turkey broth, but there are times that I'll throw bits and pieces of vegetables in there. You can even just throw the ends of your onions and your celery and your carrots in there, and it does add some flavor to it. But for this one, I'm just doing it basic. You can also do herbs. And then I put the lid on and I'll plug it in and I'll set it to 300 degrees for 24 hours. I do come back and check the level of the water periodically, and sometimes it needs more added to it. I don't necessarily want it as high as it currently is, but I do want it to cover all of the bones. And just before going to bed, I added 2 more gallons to this, and then this morning when I first woke up, I added 1 more gallon of liquid because it cooks off quite a bit. But now at this point, I have some lovely broth that is all ready to be canned. I'll then use my ladle and just kind of press it down into the broth so that only the fat will come off. This is me skimming the fat essentially, because that will float to the surface. And I don't want much fat in there. A little bit is okay, but not too much. And just kind of slowly go around, trying to just get the surface of it. And I'll give that to my barn cats, they'll love it. And then I just scoop out my broth, and I like to put it through a little sieve because then if I do catch any parts, it'll catch it before getting in the jar. So I'll fill my quart-sized jars up to 1/2 of an inch of headspace. Headspace is the space from the top of the food to the top of the jar. I really love this ginormous ladle. It's something that my mom actually picked up for me because she has one similar, and she has absolutely loved it for her canning. And then I still have enough broth left that I can actually use this to make a turkey soup tonight. And I did overfill one of these, so I'll just remove that and bring the other ones up to the proper headspace. This is when I kind of do my fine tuning. And then I'll use a cloth with just a little bit of white vinegar on it to clean the rims of my jars. A lot of times I just use water, but when it comes to something like this that has a little higher oil content, I feel like the vinegar really cuts the grease. And that just makes it so that if any broth got on the edge, that it won't interfere with the seal. I'll then place my lids and rings on until they're fingertip tight. I'll then prepare my canner by adding 3 quarts of hot water. And then I just place all my jars into my canner and place the lid on and lock it. Then I'll process these in the pressure canner for 25 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure if I was at sea level. Because I'm at 1,200 feet, I'll go at 11 pounds of pressure. I'll put this on the stove on high heat until the vent starts to steam. Now that it's begun to steam, I'll set my timer for 10 minutes. Now that it's been 10 minutes, I'll place my weight on top of the vent and the pressure will begin to rise. Once the pressure hits 11 pounds of pressure for me, then I'll set my 25-minute timer. After that point, I need to maintain above my designated pressure, 11, but I don't really want it to get above 15 because if you do, you end up with lots more leakage, and especially with something greasy like this, if you have leakage, odds are you're gonna have difficulty with things sealing. So I tend to shoot for around the 12 to 13 pounds of pressure range, just to give me a little wiggle room, because if at any point it drops below 11 pounds of pressure, I need to completely restart my timer. As you get to know your pressure canner and your stove, this gets a little bit easier. After the timer goes off, then I'll turn off the heat and allow it to drop down its pressure naturally. I won't touch the weight, nothing, until the pressure sensor and the dial gauge say that it's at 0. Now that my pressure sensor is down and my gauge says 0, I'll remove my weight and unlock my lid, and I open it away from me so that that steam doesn't go right into my face. I'll then let the jars sit for 10 minutes to cool. I'll then place the jars on a heat resistant surface about 1 to 2 inches apart. I'll allow them to rest for 24 hours to give them a chance to get a really good seal. After that point, I'll remove the rings and use hot soapy water to wash the outsides, and then store them in a cool, dry, dark location and use them in the next 1 to 3 years.